Hello, everyone. Welcome in today. Today, we're going to talk about the top 10 quarterbacks in the 2025 NFL draft. This is a video that's been a long time coming. I wanted to get it out sooner, but right now, I want to watch a lot of tapes on guys in order to get my takes to feel like they're pretty accurate. And to be honest with you, I just didn't get it done in time to have it out a couple weeks ago. So that way it could breathe and give you guys time to watch it prior to the draft. But here's the big one. Let's jump right in here at number 10, and it's going to be Quinn Ewers, the quarterback out of Texas. I've got a fifth round grade on him. He's 6'2, 214 pounds. He's a 22-year-old quarterback. Let's read the blurb on him. It says, I'll admit I think he has a narrow path to become a starter in the NFL. His arm looks pretty average to me. He has good zip on underneath throws, but when it comes to deeper throws, he always seems to underthrow them. His general accuracy isn't bad, which is like he gets the ball near his intended player, but his ball placement, that needs a lot of work. I think he handles the short to intermediate throws pretty well, but he is wildly inconsistent on deep passes. In the pocket, he plays like a statue, and he doesn't like to move from his spot and slide in the pocket, which leads to sacks and pressures that could be prevented. It's not that he isn't capable of running, it's that he almost freezes sometimes, and he just doesn't want to move or doesn't know how to move in the pocket, because when he does actually step up and move in the pocket and take off and run, he does look like a pretty good athlete. Says I've seen him make multiple reads on plays, but his processing speed seems to be pretty average to me, maybe even below average. I think sometimes, and he has a tendency also to just fire balls into contested areas. Like he maybe predetermines the throw, or like this is what we're supposed to do, and he'll look to the right, look to the left, and throw it in the double coverage. And you're like, what are you doing, dude? And to be honest with you, that's why I just think his pocket, the way he handles the pocket and maneuvers the pocket's the reason why I see a very narrow path for him to become a starting quarterback in the NFL. Basically, how I look at it is if you're in the fifth round and above, you have a path to become a starting quarterback in the NFL. If you're a sixth, seventh round guy, you're only ever going to be a backup. I don't see a way for you to become a starter. Or if you do, it's like the very narrowest of ways to do it. Maybe that makes my grades a little bit higher. Like all 10 of my guys are going to be fifth round and above. But to be honest with you, when you look at a guy, you have to look at him and look at the positives and go, how can it work? And I view that if you see anything in a guy to make him a starter, you put him in the fifth round or above. And you take a shot, because fourth, fifth round, at least you're going to get probably a pretty good backup is the hope. Yeah, Quinn barely made that cut for me. I'm not sure that I ever see him starting. Like I said, his pocket, the way he handles the pocket, manipulates the pocket is like non-existent. He freezes in place, and he allows a lot of pressures that shouldn't be pressures. He has openings in front of him, and he won't step up, and he just stands there and takes a sack or throws it while getting hit. And I don't know, man. I don't want to dunk on the guy, but he definitely could have used another year in college. I don't know who told him to come out. Just because it was your plan to only play 4 years in college doesn't mean it was the right decision. He absolutely should have transferred. I still don't see a top tier arm strength in him. I'm not going to sit here and lie about it. I feel like he has enough to where he could be like a Cam Ward. If he went back to school, he would have really helped himself, possibly. He might not have, but he could have made a lot of money in college as a transfer and maybe developed a little bit further. I really think it would have been the best thing for him. He made a bad decision coming out. I'm not going to lie to you. Let's go ahead and move on to number 9 on our list, and it's going to be another one that people might not expect. Will Howard, the quarterback out of Ohio State. I've got a fifth round grade on him. I think he's getting a lot of late hype, and a lot of people are thinking he's a third round guy. I just can't get there. He's 23 years old. He'll be 24 when the season starts. He's 6'4", 236 pounds. He has the size that you like in an NFL quarterback. Let's read the blurb on him, and then we'll talk about him some more. It says he looks like he'll be a backup at the next level. He has a small, narrow path to become a starter. I don't see the traits for him to just become a starter in the NFL, really, but he has a narrow path with his smarts. He has pretty average arm strength, and the lack of throw power shows up on deep balls that seem to come up short consistently. I think he has good accuracy overall from clean pockets, but if he feels pressure or gets forced to move, his accuracy drops. The biggest issue for me is that he has an average processor who was only reading half the field in college most of the time. I think he has average athleticism that worked in college to be a good runner. I don't think it's going to translate to the NFL, but he does have a pretty good feel for scrambling and is willing to run when needed. I just don't think you'll be calling the design plays for him in the NFL as a scrambler. That's kind of a big part of his game that made him work at Ohio State, and that's why I'm going to be lower on him. He just doesn't look like an outstanding athlete to me. I'm not going to sit here and, like I said, don't want to dunk on the guy. I like Will Howard and all, but he didn't run for a reason. It's a big part of his game. Yeah, he's another one. A lot like Quinn Ewers. I think he's more of an NFL backup probably, but I could see ways for him. For him, it's his toughness, his competitiveness. He improved at Ohio State. He got better as the season went along in the offense. But there were still far too many inconsistencies on tape for me with Will Howard. I mean, everybody talks about the game with Michigan and being like, oh, throw it out. We're pretty sure he had a concussion. Well, he played, and he played horribly. And he made decisions that I seen on tape the year before at Kansas State. That's still in there. And I don't know. I just don't see the ceiling everybody else does to take him in third round. I think he has a narrow path to become a starting quarterback in this league. Could he do it? Yes, but he's more likely, like Quinn Ekers, maybe going to get to the level of being a spot starter or a guy that becomes a bridge quarterback, or that's kind of how I view Will Howard. I'm just not as high on him. Like I said, got a 5th round grade on him. He's not much higher than Quinn Ewers, as you can see. He's more in the middle, where I think 5th round, he's like a solid 5th round pick to me. Let's go ahead and move on to the next guy on our list. It's Riley Leonard, the quarterback out of Notre Dame. He's somebody that I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm higher on him, but he has a 5th round grade for me. Some people think he's just simply undraftable. He's 6'4", 216 pounds. He's 22 years old. Let's go ahead and read the blurb on him, and then we'll discuss Riley Leonard some more. It says, honestly, he surprised me. I don't think that he is ready to play right now, and he will need to sit and learn before I trust putting him out there. The thing is, he has the upside to be a starter in this league with his arm strength and athleticism. He will absolutely need to improve his accuracy at all 3 levels, but he does a good job hitting his man when he has a clean pocket. He currently is more of a one read and run type of quarterback, and he will need to learn to stay in clean pockets and go through progressions before taking off. On tape, he showed the ability to adjust his arm angles and that he had a quick delivery that usually ties his feet to his arm. Now, as a runner, he is one of the best in the class as far as vision and toughness, but his overall athleticism is also quite good, and that honestly shocked me at just how well his athleticism translated. I wasn't expecting, I was expecting more of a Will Howard when I turned on and just actually watched the tape. No, he actually glides and runs pretty well. I'm not gonna lie to you. He could be a running quarterback in this league. I legitimately see a path for him to become like a Josh Allen, where you're cool with him having the ball in his hands and he can cover ground, make up yards, and he's a pretty tough runner and he has good vision. I legitimately see a path. Don't know that he'll get there. It's very narrow for him to ever get there, but there is a path for him to be that type of quarterback. Don't think he has the traits of Josh Allen. I just want to make that clear when I talk about as a runner. I said I seen him run away or match the speed of some defenders that tested very well in this class, and I see his scrambling ability translating well. I think he could be a good backup option in the league who has a chance to develop into a starter with a whole lot of patience. And that's the thing with Riley Leonard. I was watching, and like I said, there's a lot of one read and run plays. Don't get me wrong. You'll see he looks and then he just scrambles, or that's a designed run for him. And I don't know. Some of that could be the function of the offenses he was in. He's been in 2 different college offenses though, and they both kind of operated the same way. But he is a tough runner. He hasn't played football his whole life. He was a multi-sport guy, came to football full-time late, so it's not like it's something that he's been doing. He's not one of these trained guys who's been a quarterback his whole life, been to camps, getting trained. So there is a chance for potential growth in there, and that's something that you can kind of hang your hat on if you're going to take a flyer on him. I have a 5th round grade on him. He's somebody that, like I said, he needs a lot of development, but I can see why a team would take a shot on him. He genuinely has a chance to become a starting quarterback in this league. He has the tools, he has the speed and athleticism. He just doesn't have the accuracy. And the decision making is honestly not that bad with him most of the time. It's just, like I said, it's a lot of quick read and then run. And he's got to get that out of his game. He's got to maneuver the pocket well. He's got to stay in them clean pockets and fire into the field. He's willing to throw it deep. He just, like I said, he just runs. And I don't know if you'll ever be able to get that out of him, or if that was just a feature of him being a good athlete and them wanting him to, create, because he could actually create pretty well as a runner. He's somebody though that I think is definitely worth a flyer. I would take him in the 5th round. I wouldn't be shocked if the NFL's higher on him though. I really would not be shocked if he goes higher than this. I just think he has a narrow path to become a starter, and he's somebody that's you're not going to want to put out there as your backup. He's definitely going to be more of a 3rd string guy. Think of a Joe Milton, and he went in the 6th round, but I could see a path for him to become a starter as well with his just natural talent. And I think that guys like that, 5th round's a good floor for him. Let's go ahead though and move on to the next guy on our list. At number 7, we're going to have Dillon Gabriel, the quarterback out of Oregon. I've got a round 4 grade on him. He's 24 years old and he's only 5'11", 205 pounds. That's kind of a big knock on him, along with the fact he's been in college forever. Let's go ahead and read his blurb real quick. It says, I think he could be a high-level backup in the NFL who might be able to become a bridge quarterback later in his career or a possible short-term starter. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but I think he has enough to work in the NFL, even if it's on the lower end. I think he navigates the pocket well and he looks pretty comfortable dealing with pressure around him. He is at his best in a quick passing system that works works to his strengths and keeps him from holding on to the ball and moving around, whereas accuracy drops off along with his decision making. I think his intermediate and deep accuracy are good, but they are a little spotty at times. He is a decent scrambler who has enough athleticism to be effective at the next level. Boy, that was hard to get out, and I don't know why. Dillon Gabriel is somebody that, he's just a smart quarterback. Like, he's the guy that really effective in college. You just don't know how well it's going to translate. He has a little bit more arm than I thought he was going to have when I was just thinking of Dillon Gabriel. Like I said, I watched all of college football. I'm a huge college football fan along with NFL fan. So I watched a lot of Oregon games this past season. They were good. And I don't know, until you actually watch the tape and you're like fully trying to evaluate him and not just enjoy the experience of watching the game, I kind of assumed he was just going to be a weaker arm quarterback. And you know what? He has enough juice to be a starting quarterback in this league. I do think it would probably be on the lower end. And I do think that in order for him to be successful, he needs to be in a quick passing game. I really think that, they'd always say like your traditional West Coast offense, like Alex Smith strived in his career. And I kind of see that path for Dillon Gabriel to become a starter in this league. I do think it's a little more narrow for him than maybe you might like in a 4th round pick, but I also think that he has enough of a floor where I'm confident he'll be a backup quarterback in this league. So I'm more comfortable giving him that 4th round grade where you take a shot, you miss on a starting, maybe he doesn't have the highest traits to become a good starting quarterback in this league. And he's a little bit more of a guy who is likely to only ever be a bridge starter for you or for a team. I think of like a Tyrod Taylor type. Maybe he ends up being that or like a Gardner Minshew. But I feel really good about his floor as a backup quarterback that I think it's worth a shot. You think about a team like the Rams. They have Stetson Bennett. They have older Matthew Stafford. You take a guy like Dillon Gabriel, say Stafford plays 2 more years. I think he'll be able to develop enough to be a bridge starter for you to maybe take a better prospect in the future. But you can let Gabriel play, know that he's going to make good decisions. He's going to be smart. He's going to be tough. He's going to be able to lead your offense. And you're not going to look completely foolish putting him out there in a few years while you develop your younger guy to take over for him. Like, I kind of see that as the path for Dillon Gabriel, but I feel really good about the fact that he's always going to be like in the late 30s to 40s in the quarterbacks in the league, where I feel like he'll be a good backup in the NFL. And he'll be a guy that's just going to have a long career, and that's why I put him in the 4th round. Let's go ahead and move on to the number 6 guy on my list, and that's going to be quarterback Kyle McCord from Syracuse. He's a round 3 to 4 guy to me. He's 22 years old, 6'3", 218 pounds. Let's read his blurb and then we'll discuss him. It says he is more of a pocket passer, but I think he has the upside to possibly be a starter in the NFL. He doesn't have the strongest arm. I think it dies out on his deeper passes outside the numbers especially. Having said that, he has good zip on short to intermediate passes, and he does a really good job throwing back shoulder throws down the field. He is aggressive, which is both a good and a bad thing for him. It will lead to turnovers, but it does open up the underneath throws for his offense. He does seem to have be a pretty good processor. I've seen him release the ball before the receiver was open multiple times, and he will make reads all the way across the field. He has pretty good accuracy on short to intermediate throws, and he is willing to fit the ball into NFL style windows. I think his deep accuracy can get away from him, especially when it's a longer pass either down the field or like a deeper out route across the field. So from like the left hash, throwing it all the way to the right boundary, like 15 yards. That's a hard throw. And you can tell he kind of struggles with that, and he puts a lot into it, and his accuracy fades. But when throwing back shoulders, he looks really accurate, and he always puts the ball in a great spot for his receiver to come back to it. He looks good when he steps up into the pocket, but he will sometimes not step into throws under pressure or fade back when throwing the ball, so it's off his back foot, and I do think that affects his accuracy at times. He definitely is not a scrambler, and I don't think he has the athleticism to run much. It's just not going to be a part of his game, and that's fine. I could see a world where Kyle McCord becomes a starter. In some ways I look at him and I'm like, it's almost like Aiden O'Connell, where I'm like, yeah, he was a 4th round pick, which is why he's a round 3 to 4 guy to me. I think O'Connell's been a little better than a 4th round pick. You'd be happy with what you got as the Raiders, but at the same time, I kind of see Kyle McCord in a similar light. That's it. I think he could play in the NFL. I don't think he'll ever be anything more than a lower tier starter, but he has a chance to start for a team. I was really impressed watching him at Syracuse. I watched him at Ohio State, and yeah, he definitely got a lot more confidence and swagger heading to Syracuse. I think he just something about maybe playing for Ryan Day. It didn't work for him, man. It didn't work, and he didn't look comfortable, and he just wasn't that good, honestly, at times. And so when I threw on his Syracuse tape, I was pleasantly surprised. He played with a lot of confidence. He was aggressive, which is something you didn't see at Ohio State. It did lead to some turnovers sometimes, but I was actually quite impressed by him, and I could see him being a distributor, basically. Maybe like a Brock Purdy type, where he could work in that capacity in the NFL, and he's going to have to win with his mind instead of his arm because I don't see a spectacular arm strength or anything. But let's go ahead and move on to our top 5 now. At number 5, we're going to have Jaylen Miler, the quarterback out of Alabama. I put him in the 3rd round. I just can't get higher than him on that. He's a boom bust guy for me. I graded his tape out in the 4th round, and I gave him a boom bust due to his athleticism. Like, he had some really good tapes early in the year, and then you look at his Oklahoma tape, and you're like, that's a complete pile of dog. You know what? Like, it was bad. He's up and down. He's 22 years old, 6'2", 217 pounds. But he's definitely one of them guys that, like, I can see the upside with the arm strength, and you can see it when it all comes together in games where you're like, he's the ultimate test case of, do you really grade to the flashes? Because the flashes of him, you put a 1st round grade on him. Like, there are legitimate flashes in games. And then maybe you can knock it and say it's more of like a late round 1, early round 2 grade. Because, like, you look at his Georgia tape, for example, he had a lot of good film there, but he also, I think, made one boneheaded interception in that play, in that game, if I remember right. So, there's still questions there. So if you grade to the flashes, you're going to be a lot higher on him. It's just, I feel like his flashes are far too inconsistent for me to go that high on him. I have a 3rd round grade on him. And the thing with quarterbacks is, especially when you get into like these guys with a 3rd round grade, like a solid 3rd round grade, they almost always should probably go about a round earlier. So you look at a guy like Milroe, I wouldn't be shocked if he goes somewhere in round 2. Now, my grade for him is like the middle of round 3. So to me, I'd say like middle of round 2 area. Pick 45-ish on probably. But I could see him going a little before that. And then a lot of guys that get 2nd round grades, they should just go in the bottom of the 1st round. And that's just what it is. And then a guy who's like a borderline round 1 to 2, I can see taking him in the middle of the 1st round. And then anybody that's got like a solid 1st round grade and you can see a path for them becoming like a top 15 quarterback in the league, you're like, they're worth any of the top picks in the draft. And you're going to see that play out later on. But let's read the blurb on Milroe real quick. It says he's a developing player who has the physical tools to be a top quarterback, to be the top quarterback in this class. He has possibly the strongest arm, but I still would not call it elite. And now when I say that, I mean the strongest arm in this class, not in the NFL, but in this class, he might have the strongest arm. As a passer, his accuracy can be all over the place, especially on short to intermediate passes. But when he has a clean pocket and he trusts his eyes, he will fire a nice pass. He just needs to keep developing and get comfortable under pressure. I think his deep accuracy is actually pretty good for the most part, but sometimes the ball will still sail on him, and I wonder if it's related to his hand size. I know it measured better at the combine than before, but I don't know. Like, he had them smaller hands at the Senior Bowl, and I wonder if that's a little bit more true to the hand size for him without the exercises. And that ball it'll sail on him sometimes. Like, it just does. I think as a runner, he is very athletic, and he runs with very good power as well. I actually don't love his vision, though. I think he will miss open lanes and he'll run into blockers at times, but he overcomes his mistakes running with his just natural athletic gifts, and he's able to create and keep the play alive and get extra yards. I think in the pocket, he will be late to move or to get out, leading to him having to break tackles or take bad sacks. I will say I did see him use his eyes to hold defenders at times, and he will get to his second read and progressions before running when protected in the pocket. Basically, my thing with him in the pocket is, like, I think at times he is a little late to react to what's happening to him. He doesn't have like that natural feel in the pocket, and he could develop that, but that's something I didn't love about him. Like, he would take a big hit, break it, and then get out and go run, and which is good, but on that very same play, I see where he could have stepped up into the pocket, slid to the right, and ran and never taken a hit and had to be a Superman on the play. Like, he has a lot of natural athletic gifts that worked well for him. I didn't love his vision as a runner. I got to be honest with you. There was multiple times where he'd go to the left. The play is designed to go to the left, but if you're a back, you can cut off your guard's ass and right there's the lane. He would just run into his guard. And I'm like, dude, and that's why when I see people like, oh, he could make a great running back. I'd have a higher grade as a running back. I actually don't think his vision's that good as a runner. He wins with his athletic gifts and the fact that like, people expect him to run, but he's dropping back to pass. And that's not when he has the ball in his hands, they're not just assuming he's running. I actually don't think he would be the best running back in the world. I think he'd run into his blockers a lot. And I do think his best path is a boom bust quarterback in the NFL. And then maybe later in his career, if it doesn't work out, you find a role for him. He needs to develop his accuracy. It's all over the place. Some of it's footwork. I don't know. some guys just don't have natural accuracy, and he's one of them. So the question is, can he develop it to be good enough to be playable? You're really taking a major risk with him. I'm not gonna lie, and I can understand a team doing it. I hope nobody does it in the first round. I don't see that in him at all. And if he does go in the first round, I'm really worried that you could almost see a Paxton Lynch situation where he just never gets on the field and it's a completely wasted pick, because he needs time, he needs patience, and as a first round pick, they're going to try to push you out there. He could do it, and he could be a top quarterback in the league if he hits his absolute ceiling. But the likelihood is somewhere in the middle where he's inconsistent, and take a shot, but maybe please wait till the second round. Don't do it in the first round. Let's go ahead and move on to the number 4 guy on my list, and it's actually a tie between him and the next guy, but due to his age, he ended up below him, so it's going to be Tyler Shuck, the quarterback out of Louisville. He is a round 2 prospect to me. He's 25 years old. He'll be 26 in September. He's 6'5", 219 pounds. I really wanted to make him my QB3. I liked his tape better, and I like Jackson Dart. But Jackson Dart, 4 years, almost 5 years younger than him. He has a lot of traits that you like. He does not look as good now, and due to the offense that he ran, he isn't as good now. But with that age gap, that's how I landed with Tyler Shuck at 4. I don't see a path. Even though I gave him a round 2 grade, he is not one of the guys that you take in the first round. He is too old. There's too many questions for somebody his age to go in the first round, in my opinion. And I hope that people have learned from the past. And to me, I wouldn't take him at top of the second round. I have more of a later second round grade on him. And at his age, you absolutely don't push him up the board like you do a normal quarterback. I almost put him below Jaylen Miler, but I'm just not that confident in Miler. I really like Shuck's tape. And if he was a 21 or a 22-year-old, Tyler Shuck would be number 2 on my list. He makes some boneheaded plays. Don't get me wrong. People can pull up the low lights. They exist. But he also has a lot of plays where he's in rhythm and he looks really freaking good. People love to bring up the Boston College or Stanford underhand throw. It was terrible. I don't know what he was thinking. Don't know what he was doing. Not going to defend it. And they like to say, well, all of his injuries, he throws the ball away a lot. Well, you know what? He also prevents sacks, which is a problem a lot of these quarterbacks in this class have. They take sacks that they shouldn't take. Sure, would you like to get him standing in the pocket and being a little tougher? Yes. But it was also his first season back actually being healthy. So you can hope that he'll be able to get his confidence back in the pocket and step up into throws consistently. Let's go ahead, read the blurb on him though. It says you have to start by mentioning that he will be 26 during his rookie season. He has a past injury history that led to his long college career. He suffered 3 season-ending injuries, and they were all basically like broken bones and stuff, so you're not as worried about that hurting his long-term career. I do want to add that. It says he shows the ability to make pro-style reads and scan the entire field and make quick decisions while using his eyes to hold defenders. He wants to win from the pocket, and he has a good feel of when to step up and keep the play alive and when to throw the ball away. That's the thing here. I'm not knocking him for throwing the ball away. Sometimes, absolutely, he probably should have, but I feel generally he has a good feel of knowing to give up on a play. I know it's not the cool thing to say, and, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Most quarterbacks aren't them guys. Look at Tom Brady, man. He threw the ball away. People want to knock him for it and say all this. He's the best quarterback in NFL history. He won a lot of freaking games by not wasting his time running around trying to make something out of nothing. And you got to realize there are very few quarterbacks that actually can do that at an effective level in the NFL. For every Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, there's a whole lot of other guys that do the same darn thing, and they don't have the attributes to overcome it, and they hurt their team in the long haul. I'm not going to name names, don't want to be negative. I just don't want to be negative like that, but you know who they are. Some of them might be being replaced at number 1 overall, just saying. Either way, let's continue. It says he has one of the strongest arms in this class, and he can easily reach all 3 levels of the field. He has a quick release, and you see him throw from multiple different arm angles. I think his accuracy is good overall, but his deep ball is definitely his weakest area, and it can be inconsistent. His accuracy will also fade when he has pressure in the pocket because he doesn't step up into his throws. And I think that's what leads to his placement inconsistencies for the most part. I believe the reason he doesn't step into his throws under pressure is likely due to his past injury history, and you need to figure out whether he can overcome that. I think at times he can suffer from the gunslinger mentality, and he will chuck it into coverage even when there's no play to be made. I don't think I see him as much of a creator when he scrambles, but he has enough athleticism to pick up available yards when he sees an opening, stepping up into the pocket. Overall, I think he can be a starter in the NFL, but due to his age, I just don't see a very very high ceiling, but I would add that if he was younger, he would be my QB2, which I already mentioned. I wanted to put him at 3 because he's a better player now, but I figured in the middle of Jackson Dart and Jaylen Miler made the most sense. I have a true second round grade on Tyler Shuck, and I would absolutely have him ahead of Shadur Sanders just based off of ceiling if he was younger, but he is too darn old. That's why I have my number 3 guy, Jackson Dart, ahead of him. And we'll get into it and talk about Jackson Dart here. He's a round 2 guy. He has the same grade. He's only 21 years old, though. 6'2", 223. Let's go ahead and read the blurb on him. It says, I see the traits for him to become a starting quarterback in the NFL. I personally think he still needs a lot of development, and he has a ways to go based on the offense he ran in college. As a passer, he can threaten all 3 levels of the field with his arm, but I'd say he has probably more of a like Cam Ward style for arm strength. His accuracy is pretty good overall, which isn't a bad, but like if you think in Madden terms, I think he's more of like a 90 to 92 arm strength at best, where it's plenty, but it's not elite by any means. And it says his accuracy is pretty good overall, but I do think the ball will sail on him and it gets less accurate the further the ball travels. I have seen some full field reads, but for the most part, it's half the field and then tuck and run. I think, which is a product of the Lane Kiffin offense. I want to add that. That's kind of just what Lane Kiffin does, and that's why this eval is so hard. He's going to need a lot of work because he didn't have to do it in college, and there's a lot of pre-designed stuff and wonky stuff in Lane Kiffin's offense. I actually think that if you want to go to the NFL, you're better off to leave Lane Kiffin's offense. It's great if you want to win a national I mean, he hasn't even won a title, but it's great if you want to win games and be a good play, be good. But if you want to be ready for the NFL, Lane Kiffin's offense just isn't it. I think he navigates the pocket well and he does a good job stepping up into it instead of fading backwards. But once he steps up, I feel it's more to scramble and he will abandon the pass altogether right now. I think he is a good scrambler who is likely to be pretty average in the NFL athleticism wise, but honestly, I don't see an issue with that. I think that he'll be able to be a good scrambler in the league. But my biggest issue I have with him is once he starts scrambling, he doesn't protect himself and that he takes unnecessary hits. I would like to see him throw the ball away more right now. He just wants to run if he feels pressure, even when he should just give up on a play. And that'll lead to big hits like in the pocket, taking bad sacks where he can't get out of there and he just tries to get out of there. Overall, though, he has a good path to become a starting quarterback in this league. It's just going to take some time. I wouldn't touch him in the first round. I have him late round 2. So I get a team taking a shot, but that's not what I would do. We're going to move on to my number 2 quarterback on this list. Corner of the screen is going to be a little blurred. My daughter just woke up, so we're going to hide her face here. But at number 2, I got quarterback Shadur Sanders out of Colorado. He's got a round 1 to 2 grade for me. He's a 23-year-old. He's 6'1.5", 212 pounds. Let's read the blurb on him, and then we'll talk about Shadur. It says he looks like he will be a pure pocket passer who has to win with timing and precision. I'm just going to start with my biggest complaint about him is that he will pass up easy throws to go big game hunting while going backwards in the pocket. I don't understand why he does this, but I do think that if he clears it up, he will have a pretty high floor as a starting caliber quarterback. He doesn't have great arm strength. I'd probably say it's like 87, 88 in Madden terms. That's just the easiest way to put it. I just don't see him getting RPMs on the ball to fit it into tight spaces at times. I will say he throws a high arcing deep ball that travels plenty far enough that wide receivers can track and catch with ease. I think his accuracy and ball placement is very good at all 3 levels of the field. He just struggles to let it rip before the receiver is open at times, which I didn't expect to see that on tape. I'm not going to lie to you. When he does step up into the pocket and he has chaos around him, he doesn't look rattled and he keeps his eyes down the field. I would like to see him step up and through the pocket more often instead of fading and escaping out the backside, or just throw the ball away and live for another down. Overall, I don't see a player with high-end traits, but he processes well and I've seen him go through progressions quickly across the whole field. He just needs to learn to live for another down instead of trying to be a hero. That's my biggest issue with Shadur Sanders, man. His pocket movement and everything is just kind of insane at times. How far back he'll fade and like how athletic he thinks he is. The honest answer is he's not that athletic. Like he's not a runner. He may be Deion's kid, but he does not have Deion's athleticism. Everybody knows that. And he needs to play more like a Tom Brady, a Drew Brees, a Peyton Manning, and manipulate the pocket by stepping up into it. And I know Colorado had issues protecting him at times. The fact is, there were a lot of times on tape that it wasn't the offensive line's issue that he ran backwards. He could have stepped up into the pocket and just chose not to. But Shadur absolutely should go in the first round in this class. There's no question about that. I don't have quite a round 2 grade on him. It is borderline, though, being a round 2 grade. I'm not going to lie to you. He's at the floor of being a round 1 to 2 guy for me, which in reality means in every class he is closer to 40. So he kind of is a round 2 pick with my grade. But when I classify you with a round 1 to 2 grade, it's like I can see. And let's face it, there's never 32 guys in in a class that are guaranteed, like, oh, in every class they look like a first rounder. That's just not how it works. I think is actually going to have a pretty good shot of becoming a good average starter in the NFL. Sorry for any interruptions today. This one is not how I normally handle it, but with so little days left till the NFL draft, we're going to allow the little bit of distraction to stay in this video as we move on to number 1 on our list. It's going to be quarterback Cam Ward out of Miami. He has a true first round grade for me. He's 22 years old. He's 6'2", 219 pounds. Let's go ahead and read the blurb on him. It says he looks like a combo of Big Ben and Steve McNair to me with how tough and strong he is in the pocket and how he handles scramble situations. He is an aggressive passer who will pass up quick underneath passes to try and hunt for the big play, and at times that can lead to turnovers. Even though he is athletic, he isn't a run-first quarterback at all, but he is smart and effective as a scrambler, and he will get the available yards, then go down or out of bounds to avoid the hit and protect his body. He doesn't possess elite arm strength. I'd say it's more in that 90 to 92 range at best, but that is plenty enough to succeed in the NFL. I do think his arm strength can affect his deep accuracy because you can tell he will put more effort to get the ball down there at times in his throwing motion. Like, it's really quick and snappy underneath, but I think when he goes deep, he has to kind of accentuate it a little more and put more on it, and you can see when he's throwing a deep ball, and I think that's what affects his deep accuracy at times. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, you can tell when he puts more effort into the throw to get the ball there, it'll sail on him at times. I think on short passes, he's very accurate, and he does a good job allowing receivers to get rack. He is good on intermediate passes as well, but not quite as good. I would say slightly downgraded from his short accuracy, but overall he does a good job with ball placement and allowing his receivers to create after the catch. I really like it. Like I said, short to intermediate, really good. Deep, it's also good, but you can tell it kind of fades a little bit when he puts the extra effort to get the ball there. Overall, he does have good accuracy. However, he does need to clean up some mechanical issues that pop up from time to time. A couple of my favorite parts of his game are his ability to change arm angles and how calm and collected he seems in the pocket. I think he looks like a shortstop in baseball at times when he catches and releases the ball quickly from whatever angle his arm is at when he gets the snap. As far as his pocket movement, I like that he doesn't drift backwards very often, and he looks to step up and pass, and then if he doesn't see anything, he will take off and run. Now, on occasion, he does fade back in the pocket, but for the most part, he is actually willing to step up into the pocket and look to throw, and he will run, but it's not his first go-to, which is something I really like about Cam Ward. He definitely improved by going back to college, and he helped his draft stock quite a bit. Last year, sure, he's lower on the list, but he is good enough to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, and he has the ceiling to become one of them top 15 guys, which is what'll make it easier for me to be able to say you take him at number 1 overall if you're Tennessee and you replace a guy like Will Levis. I will say it's pretty clear to me Cam Ward's the best quarterback in this class, and there's no question about that. He's number 1 on my list, and it was an easy decision to have him at number 1. Some other guys that I watched, though, I watched Max Brosmer out of Minnesota, Curtis Rourke out of Indiana, Brady Cook out of Missouri, Graham Mertz, of course, out of Florida. I watched a little bit of Seth Hennigan, and I watched some of the kid from Canada that was at the Senior Bowl, Taylor Elgersma. Ultimately, those guys, though, at best could be backups. I don't know, though. Brosmer is probably my favorite of the group, and I think he has the potential to be a backup in the league for the long term if I had to choose out all of them. But that's going to be it for our position rankings. I want to hear your feedback down below. Please drop a like on that video. If you're still here, I'm sorry for all the background noise on this one and the inconveniences. It happens as a father, and I hope you guys can understand that. Either way, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't and you're still hanging around. We're going to keep talking about the draft even after the NFL draft, and then we're going to get on to the next one, and we're going to go through college football and the NFL. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out.